In 1959, inside a beautiful hillside mansion overlooking Los Angeles, a doctor snapped, leaving behind a crime so brutal, a mystery so eerie, and a haunting so chilling that the home has stood frozen in time for decades. Neighbors whispered about strange lights flickering behind boarded windows, seeing the doctor's face staring out of windows, and the repeated sound of a woman's blood-curdling scream. Police have been called to the residence countless times. They've gone in to investigate, trying to find the source of the screaming, but they always find the house empty. Tonight we're investigating the infamous murder house in Los Angeles. Located in Los Feliz, we're uncovering the dark secrets, the unanswered questions, and the chilling haunting that continues to terrify anyone who dares to get close to that mansion. All I can say for today's episode is, wow. This is Avery After Dark, and I'm your host, Avery Ross. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. If you love mysteries, subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an episode. I upload new videos every week. And in those comments, let me know where you're tuning in from in the world. Let's get right into it. Let's travel back to the 1950s in Los Angeles, where the sun was bright, the lawns were manicured, and a beautiful mansion sits perched on top of a hill. This case and haunting takes place in one of the wealthiest areas in LA, a very old neighborhood, Los Feliz. The setting? This gorgeous Spanish Revival mansion built in the 1920s with arched doorways, wrought iron railings, and enough square footage to hide, well, a few secrets. We gotta talk about the house itself because the history, it's a bit strange. The first owners of the house were a wealthy couple who moved to LA from Seattle, named Harold and Florence Schumacher. The Schumachers made it their family home. Only briefly, though, records reveal that on July 1st, 1928, Florence died in the home of heart disease at the age of only 40. Harold, 41, died of pneumonia just a few weeks later. 2 years later, a movie magazine editor named Wilford Beaton and his son Donald moved into the mansion, but Donald soon became bedridden, suffering from an infection caused by a blister while playing tennis. He succumbed to his illness, dying at the house, and he was just 21 years old. And it sounds pretty rough. Wilford left the home and filed for bankruptcy. And then came the doctor and his family. The Perelsons were on paper a picture of success. Let's meet the family. The father, Harold Perelson, was a respected cardiologist. His wife, Lillian, was elegant and social. The couple had 3 children, Judy, Debbie, and Joel. Neighbors described them as quiet, proper, and normal. The Perelsons moved into the home in 1956. And they were really moving up because their previous home was much smaller. So they moved into this massive mansion with sweeping views of Los Angeles. They are living the high life, but behind closed doors, things were not so perfect. Tensions were growing inside the home. Heart physician Dr. Perelson was viewed as a very successful man, but his medical practice was in significant debt. And we all know this is how it can be. A family, a couple can look so perfect from the outside. From appearances, they've got money, they've got status, they're posing for pictures, they look so happy, but many times that is just a facade. I think as you get older, you realize nothing is quite as it seems. People often project this life of perfection when really, it's anything but. The doctor was in a pressure cooker, and here's where the story gets dark and weird. Dr. Perelson's life had been unraveling for years. He invested a massive chunk of money into developing a medical tool, a new type of syringe, but his business partner allegedly screwed him over and sued him. So the doctor lost thousands of dollars that he didn't have. And again, you think of doctors, especially a cardiologist, and you think, wow, they're probably sitting pretty. And he just moved into this massive mansion with his family, but really, things were getting really bad. From the outside, the Perelsons looked rich, wealthy. They had designer furniture, luxury cars, but on the inside, they were drowning in unpaid bills. As it typically was in the 1950s, the doctor was the breadwinner for the family. A letter, later found written by their daughter, 18-year-old Judy, to an aunt spoke of problems between her parents, caused by the family being in a bind financially. So the couple's 18-year-old daughter is recognizing there's something going on. And kids, the children, they always know. Kids are like little barometers of whatever is going on in a family. They will pick up on it, and they can sense when something is wrong. And friends said that Harold began to act strangely, bizarre behavior, saying he was withdrawn, erratic, moody, obsessed with money, and also paranoid that his career was ending. He began staying up all night reading medical journals, pacing the hallways of the mansion, talking to himself. One friend said he'd started talking in circles, especially about his failed business partner. Judy also reportedly told a classmate, "My dad has been acting strange lately." There isn't much on Lillian about what she saw and heard from her husband, but if the kids are picking up on it, I'm sure she was too. The doctor was allegedly taking medications, sleeping pills, tranquilizers, and stimulants. So he's not sleeping, so he's using these sleeping pills, and then he needs energy, so he takes a stimulant. The night before everything happened, December 5th, 1959, neighbors later recalled seeing the family decorating for Christmas. They were buying wrapping paper, setting up a small tree in the house. This looked like a very normal family preparing for Christmas. A letter Harold wrote that night, but never sent, included the line, "I'm going to rest. Sleep is the best medicine." Murder night, December 6th. Dr. Perelson rose from bed. His wife and children had been fast asleep for hours. He walked downstairs to the garage, picked up a hammer. There was no shouting, there was no argument. He walked upstairs to where his wife, Lillian, was sleeping, and at around 4:30 a.m., he did the unimaginable. He attacked his wife with the hammer. One strike to the head, fatal. He then moved to his daughter Judy's room and began attacking her. But different from her mom, Judy woke up and started screaming, and this scream woke up her siblings, who were nearby in another bedroom sleeping. Her sister Debbie, 11 years old, shot up in another bedroom, and then woke up her brother Joel, 13. Judy was bleeding. She runs into the hallway, and the doctor says to her in the most eerie, calm voice, "Go back to bed. This is a nightmare." As the kids are screaming and waking up, this distraction allowed Judy to escape to a neighbor's house. This man was named Marshall Ross. Her siblings were still in the house, but they locked the door, preventing the doctor from being able to get to them. But Judy has no idea what's going on back at the house. She tells Marshall about what happened. Her dad attacked her. And Marshall begins taking care of Judy's injury and tells her to just lie down, and he calls 911. Marshall is very concerned for the other children, so he crosses the street to go check on them. There he finds Debbie and Joel, who were reportedly dazed, but both unharmed. He sends them running out the door and tells them to go to his house and stay there. Police get to the house, and they find Harold lying face down on Judy's bed. He had swallowed 31 pentobarbital tablets. His body was found near the hammer and empty pill bottles. A copy of Dante's Divine Comedy was found next to Harold's bed. There was also a rumor that the doctor had swallowed acid, and that's how he took his own life, but this, according to reports, is untrue. And there they discover Lillian, deceased. When the police arrived at the Perelsons' mansion in the early hours of December 6th, they walked into a scene that felt chaotic but also strangely controlled. Lillian Perelson was found in the master bedroom, brutally bludgeoned. Nearby, Dr. Harold Perelson lay dead, having taken a fatal dose of powerful drugs. The evidence pointed to a sudden, violent break from reality. Police have an eyewitness, Judy, saying her dad was the one who attacked her. Inside the home, police found no signs of forced entry, struggle, or robbery. Nothing was stolen. It was clear this crime was carried out by Harold alone. Investigators reviewed his finances, discovering severe money troubles and a failed medical malpractice lawsuit that had left him deeply strained. There was no letter, no manifesto, no confession. A year earlier, Dr. Perelson had been admitted to Temple Hospital for a week. There, he was given Thorazine, a drug used at the time to treat schizophrenia and other psychiatric disorders. And by the end of the day, LAPD wrapped up the case fairly quickly. Harold had killed his wife, injured his daughter, and then taken his own life. But there were so many unanswered questions about the doctor, his mental state, mainly being what caused him to snap. After this, the surviving children moved away. Extended family never took possession of the home. And the story was front page news in a few publications in LA, but by week's end, the event was old news. And the murder house sat untouched for 50 years. The furniture stayed, dishes left on the counters. Visitors who peered inside described Christmas presents still wrapped, board games on the floor, 1950s magazines, shoes by the door, plates still in cupboards. The home was frozen on that horrible, tragic night. One paranormal investigator described it as walking into a house where time died. A year after the murder, the home was bought at probate by an older couple, Emily and Julian Enriquez. And this began another mysterious chapter in the mansion's history. The Enriquez family owned the infamous address for decades, but in the entire time that they owned it, they never moved in. This 5,000 square foot mansion just sat there. The family just used it to store stuff, apparently. Oh, here's my spare haunted murder mansion. Just leave the boxes in the family room. Crazy. Neighbors saw the couple bringing boxes into the mansion, but they would never, ever stay the night. And like I mentioned, they left all of the Perelson's furniture as is, like the entire house. They didn't touch it. Curious visitors and neighbors have shared their stories, and through the windows, they can see the 1950s-style television set, the Christmas tree the family had set up, neatly wrapped gifts placed underneath it, and the furniture covered in a thick layer of dust. People are looking at this living room, and it looks the exact same as the night of the crimes. Julian died in 1973, Emily later in 1994. Rudy Enriquez inherited the house, and just like his mom and dad, he never stayed the night or made any changes to the home. Rudy refused to sell the property and said he visited the house quite a bit to feed his 2 cats that lived there. I would never leave my cats alone at a murder mansion. Over the years, no one was ever really invited to the mansion. I mean, who would really want to go? Let's be honest. But the house attracted trespassers for quite some time. Neighbors saw people having picnics in the backyard. One trespasser said that the house was haunted, and that when she tried to break in, she was bitten by a black widow spider. An alarm system was installed, but it was one of the only changes made to the Perelsons' old home. People constantly asked the family, why don't you sell it? Why don't you renovate it? Why don't you do something? They never gave an answer. Some speculate that they were scared of the property. Others believe they were just superstitious. But whatever it was, everyone refused to live in this murder mansion. This was a house nobody wanted, no matter how valuable the land became. One report stated that even after the house sold again in the 2010s, neighbors said the new owners hired crews who kept quitting. Some contractors refused to work inside the mansion after hearing voices or feeling watched. Imagine your construction crew comes to you and says, "The ghosts don't want me there, I'm out." What do you do then? Over the years, the haunted mansion rumor ran rampant. We have this beautiful house, this successful doctor snapped, killed his wife, and there were numerous theories about the doctor and why he snapped that night. And that's the question, right? How did this family go from wrapping Christmas gifts and singing Christmas carols to this, to the father attacking the family in the middle of the night? The children who would have the most insight into the days leading up to this crime have chosen to remain private. Who could blame them? They don't do public interviews, but what we do have is the evidence that Judy was confiding in friends and family, that the family was in a bind financially. Things weren't going so well, and that leads us to the financial ruin theory. The doctor lost his investment. He was secretly bankrupt. He couldn't keep up the illusion anymore. The family had moved into this very expensive mansion, had all the bells and whistles, but the doctor knew that this was all going to be coming to an end. And then we have the theory that he just had a mental breakdown. Friends said the months leading up to the murder and attempted murder of his daughter, the doctor was having dark mood swings. Coworkers said he became forgetful and paranoid. According to reports, it's also believed that the doctor had been secretly hospitalized the year before, as we covered. This, combined with the mixture of the prescriptions the doctor was taking, is it possible he experienced a hallucination or psychosis? In the months leading up to that night, Dr. Perelson's behavior grew increasingly erratic. Friends said he was exhausted, heavily medicated, and there was one report that stated he was still recovering from a devastating car accident years earlier. It's just so haunting what he said to his daughter. Go back to sleep, this is a nightmare. As I mentioned, he was reportedly taking a mix of tranquilizers, sleeping pills, and codeine, common prescriptions at the time for stress and insomnia. But on that night in 1959, something snapped. Whatever combination he'd been living on, it all came crashing down in a single horrific moment. Now, there's another theory that's pretty creepy. Some neighbors swore the family had unexpected visitors weeks before the murder. There are reportedly witnesses who saw men in suits visiting the Perelson mansion, which begged the question, did Dr. Perelson owe someone money? Was he being pressured? Again, this is all speculation. And these men were never identified, so hey, maybe they were traveling salesmen. But neighbors at the time did believe they had a threatening presence, leading many to believe Dr. Perelson was deeply involved with some violent people. There's also the theory that the house itself is cursed. People point to the history of the home. As we covered, multiple people had died in the home within just the first couple years. All of the doctor's secrets went to the grave with him. Money trouble, a mental health issue, or were other people involved. One thing we do know is that this house is haunted. I'm talking creepy, weird, strange, eerie. All of the above. The paranormal activity in this house is so intense. Cops have been called numerous times. The things that neighbors and passerbys have seen and heard coming from this mansion are so spooky. One of the most commonly reported things is the screaming. On numerous occasions, neighbors hear a woman screaming from inside the empty house. This is a blood-curdling scream, not just a It's like, really intense. Creepy. I mean, it's so loud that it will wake neighbors up. And they really feel like someone is in distress. So they will call 911, telling them that there is someone in trouble at this mansion. And police have responded multiple times. They will search, look through the house, but it is always empty. And then we have the man in the window. Walkers and neighbors at night report seeing a man quietly watching from the second-story window, from the room where Harold died. He is reportedly pale, expressionless, just staring blankly. It's believed that this is the ghost of Harold. There's also something very specific from this house, and that is the metallic tapping. People hear metal striking, tapping, coming from the garage, the exact place where Dr. Perelson picked up the hammer. And this tapping sound will echo from the garage, and those who have visited the home report a very unsettling energy from the garage area. And then we have the Christmas activity. Every December, lights are seen flickering in the mansion, even during those years where the electricity was shut off in the home. In those wrapped Christmas presents, some investigators say they have found them moved to different parts of the house between visits. So they will visit one day and find the presents on the stairs. They'll go back a week later and find the presents in an upstairs bedroom. Who's moving these presents? That's so creepy. That is so creepy. I have a first-hand ghost encounter from the mansion. A true story from this house comes from a contractor who was hired in the 2000s to do some work on the home. This place was really decaying and needed a lot of work, so he gets to the home and begins working when suddenly he hears footsteps upstairs. Then a woman sobbing, and then a man coughing. He is pretty freaked out, but he goes up to investigate, and he sees an imprint on the dusty bedspread, like someone had just gotten up and never returned. I wonder how long he stayed after he saw that imprint. I would have flown down those stairs, run down that hill, and I would be out of there. A neighbor in the 1990s claimed she saw a teenage girl standing in the upstairs hallway. This neighbor looked down for a second, and when she looked back up, the teenage girl was gone. So imagine, you're walking your dog at night and look up and see some figure dressed like they're from the 1950s standing on those steps, staring at you. Ooh, that is scary. It's very unsettling because so much of the activity in this house is figures looking out of the windows, just kind of watching with these sad, expressionless faces. This house has changed hands a number of times. It's been put up for sale, then purchased. Then that owner will put it up for sale again. And it's typically in the price range of about $2.5 million. So it's an expensive one. It's a big investment. And it is a pretty big house on a hill. That would be prime real estate if this were a normal house, but it's not. It is not a normal house. As Shirley Jackson said, some houses are just born bad. If you're ever driving through Los Feliz at night and find yourself on Glendower Place, keep an eye out for 2475. Some people swear if you stop your car and look up, you might catch movement in the windows, a flicker, a shadow, a face. And if you see a pale man staring out the second-story window, just keep driving. Just keep going. Pedal to the metal. Get out of there. Let me know if you would want to visit this murder mansion. I wouldn't. I'll just say it right now. I would not. I don't have it in me. And in the comments, let me know what you make of this case, the crimes, and the haunting. Do you think it's really haunted? I'd love to hear your take. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and turn on post notifications. Next episode, I've got so much more mystery coming your way. Until then, check out these videos. You could pick this one. This is an eerie one. Or this one. Whew, that's a spooky one. Which one are you gonna pick?